Hi, my name is Doris and this is Heart of Stitches. I'm a knitter, crocheter, needlepoint, and embroiderer, as well as a sewist. I'm the mother of 3 children, adult children, and 3 grandchildren. I have been splitting my time between my home in Connecticut and my daughter's home in Florida. I'm in Florida right now, and when I'm here, I watch my grandchildren while my son-in-law and daughter are at work. And that is just a joy. So I'm retired and I have more time on my hands. So I found that in my making, I am less process oriented as I had been when I had more stress in my life, and more product oriented. I focus more on what I'm going to make. Do I want something in my wardrobe or as a gift, or something for the home? One thing that I find, I have so many squirrel moments, what we used to call at work, when you're focused on something and all of a sudden it's squirrel and you're off running towards something else. So in planning to tape a video, I found that I am honing in on my own plan a little better than I have been. I keep a bullet journal, as I have for several years, and I write down plans. And then by January, I have gone off and cast on something new because it was great. I got bored with something and cast on something new. Something came up as my first object is a shower gift. So I stop what I'm doing and do that. So I think even if no one ever sees my video, it's going to help me stay more focused, because if I come back in a week or in 2 weeks or a month and my whips are the same whips I have now and I haven't finished anything and I have to say, oh, well, I was going to, but I didn't, that'll get old really quick. So I think, even selfishly, if no one ever sees this, I will be helping myself. But I'd really love to join the knitting community in a more proactive way. I've been watching YouTube videos and Instagram posts, and I don't post on Instagram a lot. I probably have only posted two times. And I'd like to be better. Make knitting friends. The community is so warm and loving and giving, and I'd like to give into that as well. The first thing, I guess I will do what most of the podcasters do, and what I'm wearing, finished goods, whips, then the jiggly bits at the end. I shouldn't call it jiggly bits. I am wearing the Anker shirt, the Anker summer shirt, to be exact. It is by Petite Knits. Let's see, I have a page in my journal. The Anker summer shirt is by Petite Knit. I used a size 6 4mm needle. I made the 2XL size. I used Jupiter Moon Farm Zooey, and it is a 60% cotton, 40% linen blend. What did I have a ball left. I bought 5, and I actually bought 4 at the store and then bought another one because I thought I was going to run out, and I didn't. I used about 2 or 3 meters of this, and that's all. And I've made my sweater way too long. It's folded over quite a bit. Even at the store, I wasn't sure I was going to like this because it's ropey. There's no give at all in this, but I wanted to cast on this sweater, and this was the best yarn I could find for a Florida sweater. I mean, I bought this at a local yarn store in Florida, and wool's just not serviceable almost the entire year round down here. I made mine in the color, it's color 22 Luscious. The pattern was great. Everything was very clear. This is the second sweater I've ever made, so I did make it about 2 years ago, I think. I had short row gauge, so the only alteration I did is after the yoke and before the splitting for the sleeves, I added a few rows so that I wouldn't have a tight underarm. The yarn worked up way nicer than I thought. It did fatigue my hands a little bit. And there's some areas, I don't know if you'll be able to see this on a camera, but where it's very thin and then a lot thicker. So sometimes you'd get what looked to be like a wonky stitch. But other than that, it knitted nicer than I thought it was going to. The only, it's my lack of experience. You can't blame the yarn for what I did wrong, but I should have gone down more needle sizes. I didn't write what I did use for this, and maybe I didn't go down at all because I was that naive about it. But I'm getting bubbling here on the ribbing. At the bottom, it doesn't do it as much, but here, and I bound off way too tight. Like you can see that, then that's probably making it bow out a little bit as well, is that my binding is too tight. I had tried a stretchier bind off. The woman in the yarn store where I bought this here in Florida had called it the Chinese waitress bind off, or maybe that was the cast on. But I tried to do I think something similar to the Jenny's stretchy bind off, and this yarn just has no elasticity, so it wasn't sucking in that extra yarn over, so it was looking loopy and messy. So I ended up just doing a regular bind off. I didn't want to, I was too inexperienced at that point, and I didn't think a sewn bind off would work well with the thick and thin of the yarn. I thought that was, after my first attempt at the bind off came out so messy, I was worried that a sewn bind off would be a lot of work for a messy finish, and one that didn't work that well for me anyway. So I think I want to undo the bind off and try something else, and probably undo this ribbing and redo it. And I say I'm going to do that, and I probably should do it, but I've worn this shirt several times, and that bothers me, and nobody else probably notices it. Like if I'm walking through the grocery store, I don't think anybody's going to say, "Hey lady, your ribbing is bowed out." So I'm not sure I will do that, but I should do that, which is sort of the story of my life. I would have, should have, could have done a lot of different things. But my first finished object is a blanket for a shower. My nephew is, his partner is having a baby, and it's such a blessing for the family to have another child in their lives. They, just a family that could absorb so much love, and now my nephew, who's a little old, and you know, as a family, we thought he maybe was never going to have children of his own, and now he is. This is a mouse ears blanket. I'm not sure if I'm allowed to mention the mouse in particular. I made this out of Wool Ease yarn, the worsted weight, and it is 80% acrylic and 20% wool. This is the fifth blanket that I've made using this exact same pattern and that exact same yarn. I've made them for my I have twin granddaughters and a grandson, so they each have one, and a niece of mine in the same side of the family as this baby had a baby a couple of years ago, and she got one as well. But it is, oops, it's upside down. It is a filet crochet motif with this mouse ears. Each you sort of do a window pane, sort of, so each set of mouse ears are in a block inside of the, or each repeat is 36 stitches. So inside the block is 35 stitches, and then there's one chain one space in between each of the motifs. So if you wanted to make this blanket bigger, mine is 3 across and 4 down. But if you wanted to make this bigger, you would just have to increase by multiples of 36. I am considering making one for my son. He's big though. My son is 6'2" easily. So I would have to go maybe 2 motifs more across and maybe 4 more down. So I'm not sure he's getting it this year. Probably not, because we're past the halfway mark. And as I'm older, crocheting, to do something and solely crochet and just like crochet all day fatigues my hand. I get like tennis elbow sort of from it. I'm taking the watch off because that's distracting. This is the Colorway Stillwater, which is sort of a blue-green. The one I made for my niece, which I don't have here, was in the color Succulent, which I think was more, as saying succulent would, like a cactusy or green. I think it was a little bit greener than this one. When I contacted my nephew about colors, he had said they were having a woodland theme nursery. So, you know, this sort of leafy, Stillwater, lakey kind of blue-green was the nicest color, or the most woodland color I could get that would still be suitable for a baby. I mean, I could have gotten a brown maybe, but you know, I don't want a brown baby blanket. Not that there's anything wrong with that. I think I missed the shower. It was up in Connecticut, but it looks like the people who knew that they're having a boy. There were some little t-shirts and onesies that looked like they said, you know, that it was a boy. But it's a very cute blanket. It works up fast. Wool Ease, while it's not a fine yarn by any means, you can put this in the washer and the dryer. So what you give up in that squishy wool feel, you make up for. You wouldn't want to give a new mother something that's going to have to be blocked out on pads for 2 days. My middle child, my older of my 2 sons, his baby blanket, which was not this motif, but it was made in Wool Ease back over 20 years ago. So I've been using this yarn a long time. I could only find one of my granddaughters, so I only have one of them here, but they're exactly the same. The girls have a light pink heathered woolies with I think this one was called Fisherman or Natural. And my granddaughters are 3.5 years old, so it's not pilly so much as it gets a little jaggy at the edges. But I found that the heathered ones do that more than the true solids. So if I were doing it again, I wouldn't use this heathered one for a blanket. I like the plain solid colors better. On the blanket I made for my nephew, I just did a straight edge. Just, I don't know, I liked it better, especially knowing it was a boy. For my grandchildren and my niece, I did a scalloped, you know, just a 5 double crochet scallop edge. And my grandson, here's his, and he's only 2, but his isn't as shaggy on the edges, as you can see. I'm holding it upside down. And this is I think it was called Deep denim or something like that. I don't have the ball bands for his, or at least I don't here. I might have them in Connecticut. And it's a blue, but within that there's a purple sort of undertone, almost like the inside of a mussel shell. And this is a really pretty blanket. It's dark for a baby, but you know, it is what it is. And that's what he has. The pattern, I should have mentioned this earlier, was called Nana's Crochet Creations. And then the actual PDF was called Mouse Ears. I bought it on Etsy, and it's D Mounds Designs. They recommend a worsted weight and a K hook. I used a J hook for mine, and I still think I got a very loose gauge. I was saying to my daughter just as I was finishing this blanket that I maybe should have gone down a hook size, but then the whole thing would be smaller, and the fillet, the holes would be smaller, so I'm not sure. It would be tighter though, so less light would be getting through from around the double crochets. It's crochet. Crochet is so much more adaptable than knitting. You really could do whatever you wanted. And another, my granddaughters are the pink with the white border. I said just recently that I wish I hadn't put the white border. I wish I had just kept it all pink. But my daughter says she thinks it adds something, and she thinks I should have done white on all of them. So, you know, it's all a matter of taste and what people, that's why we create our own, because we can make it any way we want. My first whip is the Yorkshire blanket by, I'm not sure I'm going to say it right. I'm not sure if it's Meema, like a southern person, or if it's Meema, but Meema Makes is the designer, and what a beautiful pattern. I got it to go with my, technically what I bought was not called an Advent. It was called a Countdown to New Year, but you got 24 colors, and then on the 25th day you got a white, a natural colored full skein, and then it continued for 31 days right till the new year, and you got note cards and stitch markers, some felted wool cleaning cloths, like dishcloths, what else, a little cotton drawstring tote bag. I have the card here. It was from Untangled, and it's called the Heritage Wool New Year. I don't know if they're doing it again for 2025, but I would buy it again, and I've already purchased 2 Advents, but I would definitely buy this again. As I said, you got 24 minis, and it was 6 different makers, and each one had 4 colors. So the way I did it, the pattern is 12 different, they're granny squares, but they're not a traditional granny square. Each one is very special, and they're all based off of Yorkshire countryside and flowers and different things. You know, they're called lambing and mill wheel. So each, what I did is in December 1 for my Advent, I took the first color and the first square and just did 1 a day. And every day I would do 1 square, just to the colored part. On the second half of the Advent, I open it up in the morning, and if it were a bright color, I would choose the square that I wanted. Also, I would make sure, like, if this one, I think this one was the mill wheel one, if that's in pink and the day was, I got another one and it was pink, I wouldn't do the same square again in a similar type color. So I think my other mill wheel is yellow. Yeah. Yellow. The pattern was so written so well. It's very, very clear. I'm an experienced crocheter. But even there was a couple where you had to dip back and pick up a stitch two below or one below. She had photos where she puts a little arrow that says, you know, pick it up here. So even if someone is a beginner, I think they would be able to successfully complete these squares just because there's so much instruction in the pattern. If you were going to print it out, the pattern's long because of all the photos and the, you know, each row within every single square has to be written out and exactly how you have to do it. So it's a long pattern to print, but I think it's, you know, 60 or 70 pages. But I used it on my phone, and I can't say enough about the pattern, how well written and informative it was. And I can't say enough about this yarn either. This is non-superwash, 100% merino, and there were slight differences in texture or bounciness within the different yarn dyers or producers, but not appreciable, you know, where you say, oh yeah, that one's so fuzzy compared to this one. So when I laid them out, they're not in any particular order. I think I did lay them out so half would be the first half and half would be the second half, so there wouldn't be two of the same square on the same side. But then with the colors, I ended up doing black and white photos so I could look at the saturation of the yarn. I tend to overthink things by a little bit. I couldn't be happier. And I think that is why I haven't finished this. I don't want it to be over. Because really I had all of the squares done on the 24th of December. On the 25th, when I opened the one ball of natural yarn, I liked it so much, but I would need more. So I tried to look around on the websites of all 6 of these, as well as the Indie Untangled, and I couldn't find what I thought was the same yarn. So I ordered some yarn from Woolly Thistle, and when it came, it was just a little yellowier than I wanted for this blanket, and the texture was different. So I like the yarn. I'm not, you know, complaining about the yarn, but it wasn't right for this project. So I ended up going to Emma's Yarn, which in Florida, the most local, there's 3 yarn stores that I would consider local to where my daughter lives. And the closest one is 4 Pearls in Winter Haven, which is still a good jag away. It's probably 35, 40 minutes away. And an hour and a half back because of the way Florida traffic can be. But this is this is superwash, the joining white color in sheep's clothing is the name of the colorway that I used. And part of the pattern, you do a couple rounds of white, and then you do an as you go joining technique, which it's a pretty joining technique, because I've used a couple where you go back and forth with like granny square style, and this is far and away the nicest one that I've come across. So Meema makes the Yorkshire blanket. It's a beautiful pattern. This is the next one to be joined. So you go around, you know, like I said, 2 or 3 different rounds, and then you start joining it. So I pulled out some of my stitches, but I'm ready to join this. I have, besides that one, I have 2 more to join, and then the border. So as I said, I really want to get more focused and finish things, like make the plan and work the plan, not make the plan and ignore the plan. So my goal before I tape another video is to get this finished. It absolutely needs 3 or 4 hours of work at the most. Well, maybe more. I'm not sure what the border is. It looks like it's several rounds, but we'll see. I know people explain everything that they have in their hands. This has no labeling on it. I got this from Amazon, and it's just wonderful. It's got like a whole grid of pegs. I think I bought the extra pegs, so I have more than just this, but I think this is more than what the original wood thing would have come with. I think it only maybe had like 1, 2, 3 for each side. But if someone does do granny squares, it keeps them, it does make it, sorry, I'm being sort of spastic. It does make it bow a little bit, but once you join it, it's blocked without even having to block it. My next whip is a rabbit hole of life cycle of yarn. I'm very obsessed with using every bit of yarn that I get, to throw some away or to just have it sitting there, where people have stashes of balls, or they make, I know a lot of people are making that magic knot loop ball. I like more control in my crochet or knitting than that I probably would make me personally nuts, to have it change color when I'm not ready to, or have it not change color when I am ready to. So I'm not sure that will ever be something I do. But I have all these balls from the yarn from my Heritage Wool Advent. So what I started to make is the Habitation Throw. This is the Habitation Throw is designed to be a square throw. I'm trying to make mine rectangular, and I think it's working for me. I'm not too far into the rectangle portion, only that much since I started decreasing. So instead of you increasing on both sides, in the pattern it says when you're halfway through your yarn, because it is made to do with advents, then start decreasing. So I am decreasing on one side and continuing to increase on the other side. So it's a diagonal stripe. This cord isn't going to be big enough for me to stretch it all out, but in the end, like it's going to be a diagonal stripe. So far I have not repeated any of the colors of the yarn. Of course, I have been repeating the white. So I started out with the non-superwash skein of yarn that came on the 25th day of my Advent. When I ran out of that, I am using Whisper, which is a superwash yarn from Emma's Yarn, and I think the row that I'm currently knitting is the first row, and there's a texture difference by a lot. No, it looks like it changed 1 or 2 rows back in this stripe. It's the right color, I believe, and I'm trying not to obsess about every little thing, because I can be quite the perfectionist and really things will bother me. I wanted to use the yarn that came with the Advent. I didn't have enough, so one of those beggars can't be choosers. It had to be done. I had to find a different yarn. So hopefully when I wash it and block it, the non-superwash will fuzz up a little bit more, hopefully. But either way, I just love this blanket. It is made to be worked with an advent, so I think the design really meant to use, if a mini is 20 grams, to use all 20 grams, then the next 20. But I absolutely would have hated to have a gigantic stripe in the corner and then a smaller stripe and then a smaller stripe, and then they're all even for, well, it wasn't meant to be a rectangle, so they wouldn't have stayed even. But to be big fat stripes on the end and skinny stripes in the middle is just not the aesthetic that I was looking for. So I've been doing consistent stripes, other than, and it does bother me just ever so slightly, is that this corner is, maybe 3 or 4 rows too wide. But I had never made a corner to corner construction blanket before, so I really wasn't sure what was going to happen. And once I got, up here and said, oh, I'm not going to really like that that's so much bigger, it was too late. I wasn't pulling all of this out. I went to Excel with all my weights and measures, and I know I've recorded how much of each weight each of these colored stripes are. So as I get to the decreasing, none of these are big enough to make a stripe where I am now. As I get towards the end, I'm going to use all these little balls from my advent and decrease to the other side. Some of the colors were similar enough, like I'm not sure it'll pick it up because it's not that big of a difference, but that last 2 rows of garter stitch are a different color than the first ones. So I am doing the eyelet, so it's two rows to make the eyelets, and then I have 6 more rows. So I think I have a 10-row repeat for each of my colors. And the remaining colors after the advent colors, which was this green one was the last one where I had enough to this is my last color using the advent. These are Emma's yarns, and I have been buying the, let's see what it is, Emma's Beautiful Basic Halves. So it's a 50 gram and it's 100% superwash merino, and there is a texture and a shine, and a little bit of its bounciness is different, but I just love this blanket. It's just so colorful, and it's fun to pick. Oh, which color will I do next? I think I'm gonna try and do like a chocolatey brown next. After this one's called Wink, this periwinkle one. I haven't put this one on Ravelry, but I don't think I'm gonna list out all of these colors of yarn in Ravelry either, because that's just too much. And to continue down the rabbit hole of what to do with my yarn as it goes, I am making a granny stripe blanket. And this might not be finished for 10 years. Like, this is a whip, but it's as I get 1 or 2 grams and even, I think I have a couple, like this little green splotch, where I only had, a couple of yards or 1 yard of fiber. I'm just putting them in here. So I'm trying not to make any really big, I'm not, if I have 5 or 6 grams, I'm not going to make like this much of one color, at least not now. And I am matching this with Emma's yarn mohair, and this is the color Whisper. I'm not a mohair person really, but it sort of blends the colors together, so it gives it a more cohesive, so even though this is a scrap blanket, it doesn't come off as scraps. So every bit of my yarn gets used. So on this Scrappy project, I'll end right in the middle of a row. I'm not trying to be too precious about everything and make it exactly a uniform stripe either. This is meant to be, use up my scraps to relinquish some control to the fate of how much yarn I have, which isn't always easy for me. But I like this, and I don't, I'm not sure when this will get finished. At some point I'll just, you know, decide it's big enough, finish it up, and start another one probably. My next whip is the Paloma sweater. Excuse me, reaching over to the side. I keep it in this bag that I got at Yarny-Gras 2 years ago from Whimsy Stitches. I just love it. He makes quilted ones as well with patchwork. They are bigger. The patchwork ones I think are bigger. I was just hooked on this Mardi Gras fabric. When I went to Yarny-Gras this past year, I bought another one, a smaller one with a drawstring. That it's not exactly the same fabric, but it's he gets this special Mardi Gras fabric, and I love Mardi Gras. So the Paloma sweater, which I am making out of Knitting for Olive yarn, is Espes Tricot is the pattern designer. I'm using Knitting for Olive in the color Ballerina. So it's 100% merino and a silk mohair together. And it is a raglan turtleneck sweater with a twisted rib or half twisted rib collar. And then you continue the half twisted rib motif down the arm. After I was, I'm too far to do anything about it now, but I think it might have been nice to do it under the arm too, so it's down your side and on your arm. But when I decided that that would have been a good idea, it was too late. This pattern has been great, like all the dimensions. I've tried this on several times and it fits nice. I think I'm so worried I'm going to make something too small that I tend to make them too big. But the only modifications that I'm making is decreasing my sleeves just so that they're not, because I'm bigger, I don't want a cuff that's gonna wobble around too much. That just drives me a little buggy. So for my own comfort, I don't want that. But other than that, I've done exactly what the pattern said. I might have added, and I didn't write it down if I did, but I might have added some rows at the armpit again, because my row gauge tends to be short. I achieve stitch gauge, and then I'll my row gauge will be a little off. It's catching my eye. My short rows in the back look a little wonky. Hopefully that will block out a little. And I don't want to be one of the people that holds up everything and tells you everything that's wrong with it. It's beautiful and I'm proud of it. I'm not going to just sit there and pick it apart. But I shouldn't be letting it get so wrinkled. I think I'm going to have to move it, even though I love that bag, to a bigger bag so I can fold it properly and not have it shoved in there. Maybe I'll move it to a pillowcase. I know there's nothing fashionable about a white pillowcase, but as a sweater gets bigger or a blanket gets bigger, I keep it in a white pillowcase. So as I'm turning it, I'm not going to have a pilly sweater before I'm even done with it. So I'll keep it in a case and just have the edge that I'm working on hanging out, and the rest is protected. Also from cats and kids. I am pretty far along in this. I have, these are all the decreases that I did. So I started around a little above the elbow. I am usually a very good hand sewer, but I did a poor job on the cast off for this sleeve. So I think I'm going to have to pull it back. This is the sewn bind off, and I kept losing my place of where I was. So I think that's part of the problem. I think part of it that it's twisted ribs, so your stitch is twisted and I think wants to untwist. I have moments where my it's nice and neat, and then I have here that's just really bad. So I'm going to have to pull that out, even though I've already weaved in my ends. I weave my ends in as soon as think I'm not gonna have to rip it out. I weave them in because the jaggy edges just bug me. On this sleeve, I am at the ribbing. So I think I have 16 rows of ribbing. Looks like I'm around 8 or 9 here. I'll finish the sleeve, and I'm gonna try a different bind off. So I think I'm gonna try the Jenny's stretchy bind off on this one. I watched a video from Andrea Mowry and from Stephen West, and I thought the Stephen West one was clearer. He talked a little bit more about purl versus knit in his, I found that one clearer. I usually, if I'm looking for a instructional video, if I just want to know what's the best of 2 options, I will put in the search stretchy bind off Roxanne, and I look for a Roxanne Richardson tutorial or podcast where she talks about it. I find her very clear and so knowledgeable. So she is my go-to, sort of like Ina Garten is. If I'm looking for a recipe, I'll put in chocolate cake Ina Garten or roast chicken Ina Garten as just a go-to. I know I'm gonna like what I'm gonna get. Anyway, this, even though I'm not a mohair person, this is just so cuddly and dreamy. I'm not sure if it's scratchy. I've never really worn a mohair other than store-bought items, so I don't think I'm too sensitive to it. We'll find out. I am going to Scotland in October, which I think Scotland is colder than here, and by here I mean Connecticut, because the whole world is cooler than Florida. Like I would never be able to even, I don't think there'd be a day in the entire 360 that I'd be able to wear this sweater in Florida. But I'm hoping to finish this to bring it to Scotland. So even if I can't wear it, you know, if we have a busy day and I tend to get hot, I might not wear it for a whole day, but I definitely will want to wear it in Scotland. But just to recap, the Paloma sweater from Espace Tricot, knitting for Olive in the colorway Ballerina. I am using a size 7, 4.5 millimeter needle. And it's a beautiful, beautiful pattern. It fits exactly how you think it should. I'm rambling here. My next work in process, which is again, like, I don't know why I don't just finish it. I started this in October because I bought the yarn at Rhinebeck, or I bought half the yarn at Rhinebeck. This is the GoGo Dynamo shawl from Stephen West. It was his MKAL from last year. What a fun pattern. I mean, of course, his patterns are so intricate and so fun, but you do so many. This is the second one I've done. you just try so many new techniques doing a Stephen West design. My colors are almost exactly the same as his. His are more vibrant, but this year I had a hard time finding yarn at Rhinebeck. I mean, there's yarn everywhere, but I was looking for a pale, not big contrast, fingering weight to make this shawl. So I needed two colors, two of each, and I had a hard time. And then I finally found a place. It was so crowded. So I think if I had gone through every booth and didn't feel so rushed and just pushed at it from every direction, I probably would have found yarn earlier. But I ended up finding some yarn. I got two of each color. And then when I got home, I realized I had 4 different colors. So even though they looked very alike, I had 2 of the darker orange and 2 of the lighter pink color. So I went to the website of the yarn, which is called Stunning String Studio. And I, picked of the colors that I had at home, the color I wanted more of, and I ordered 1 skein of each of the darker and the lighter. And then when they came, they were actually a little different. So now I had 3 of each color. So I used the 2 that were the most similar, and I'm perfectly happy with the result. It's fine, but I should have known that indie dyer, that there was going to be fluctuations. And you don't see the fluctuations in the lighter color at all. It was, although you do a little. See in these little bubbles, the color is very uniform. But when I got to these triangles, the color is a little, I'm not sure this camera was going to pick that up. The color is a little bit more variegated. But I mean, I'm perfectly satisfied and happy with the result. I like the variegation. On the darker color is where you see a bigger difference. So the I'm doing the triangles going along with the darker color, and then the last 2 are much lighter. But no one's going to stop me and say, hey lady, why are those 2 triangles slightly different color? So, I'm not complaining. I'm just pointing out that when you're getting a indie dyed yarn, you will get this. You can expect it. And it's part of the handmade process. So making this, you cast on these little semicircles are each individually done, and then you join them. So then you go along towards the outside, and then you pick up stitches to do what would be considered maybe the yoke area. So I had used the second skein of both of them I was working from both sides. You can tell the difference that it's lighter, but you also have all that mohair, so I can tell the difference. But again, I'm not sure, I'm not sure. I will never wear this to the grocery store, but if I was at the grocery store, I don't think anybody would say, hey, why'd you use that lighter yarn in the yoke area? I don't like the way that bubbles, and I'm hoping it'll block out, but I have considered picking out my join here and, I don't know, adding another row or something. Then it might bow up a little, but I've got this little pucker here that I'm not crazy about. I think it's because the mohair dare is in here, and it's a more puffy or bulbous kind of stitch there, and I think that's what's causing it, but I don't love that. I'll try to like maybe squish it in when I'm blocking and really pull it in there. But it's those little things that any of us, that will drive me crazy and draw my eye every single time I look at this thing. But I don't want to pull my stitches up. All I have left to do is the I-cord for this much, which is what, an hour. I don't know why I don't finish it. Part of my problem is when I go to Connecticut or I go on vacation, I take everything from this room in my daughter's house and put it in the closet so that the kids won't mess around with it. And then when I come back, I don't always go back to the projects that I was working on when I left. So I think that's part of my problem. Part of it is doing the same stitches over and over and over is boring. So I think that's part of my problem as well. But again, you know, to hone in on my plan, so I don't have to do a video next time saying I still didn't do this. My goal before I tape another video is to finish this. It's really, I'm not doing myself a good service by just putting this off. I bought this is called Drops Kids Silk. I bought this from Amazon though, so I don't know where I've heard people talk about Drops before. This is the first time I've ever used it because I don't use a lot of mohair, but I did order this from Amazon, which, you know, confessions of a knitter, I do sometimes. Especially I ordered the Lions brand yarn for the baby blanket because you can get 6 from the same dye lot all at the same time. If you go to, well, poor Joann's isn't available anymore, but or to Michael's, they don't always have 6 in a colorway. So sometimes you have to go to the, you know, impersonal retailer online and get things. But I do mostly buy my yarn from Four Pearls, which is the Emma's yarn store down in, I think it's in Winter Haven, Florida. There's another one that's called Knit with an exclamation point that's in Alameda Springs. That is probably, to get there, a little farther, but then to get back, like round trip, that one might be closer, even though it's a little farther. Getting to where I am from Winter Haven, the traffic's just backed up all day long. They're doing road construction on Route 4, and I think that's part of it. Four Pearls has a knit night that I keep saying I would like to go to on a Tuesday night. But again, at 7 o'clock, the traffic is literally backed up onto the highway that intersects it. In the traffic going towards Tampa, from where I am. So I think it would take me an hour and a half to get there, and then probably maybe even an hour and a half to get back. It takes an hour and a half to get back during the day, and because they're doing road construction, but I imagine the road construction's maybe even worse at night. So I have never made it to knit night at Four Pearls, even though I would really like to do it. I should get a hotel, stay out there and go to knit night. Now I have mohair, which is one of the reasons I don't like mohair, is because, my God, it's in my nose now. What is that? The Stephen West pattern he's so innovative. This is the second shawl that I've made, and for a shawl, I don't wear shawls very much. Excuse me. This shawl is just so beautiful. It's like an art piece. But as something that's wearable for myself, I think this shawl would be wearing me more than I would. I tend to wear more classic colors, more classic styles. But the MKAL, I don't know, you just can't resist. There's so much excitement around it. And you learn so many new things. I've never done brioche, and here it is. It was fun. I sort of messed up in this corner. You can see it's very messy. These bubbles, I don't think I pulled it tight enough, or I think I was too loose about it. My bubbles aren't that bubbly. They're more of a window pane, but once I did it for the first row, I had to keep doing it for all the rows. So mine none of them are bubbly. Even though I realized what I was doing wrong, I should have pulled it tighter. Mine are flat. But hopefully for the next time I film, this will be done, because I really only have less than an afternoon's work to finish it. And that's really it for works in progress. The only other thing that I wanted to show you is actually more if anybody ever sees this, I could use some advice on what to do about a chicken. For Christmas, I made advents for each of my 3 children who are adults, and my 3 grandchildren who are all under, were under 3. So I made everyone an emotional support chicken. I have them lined up over here. And everybody got their emotional support chicken on the 24th day. Within a day or 2 of Christmas, one of my granddaughters, who will be nameless, pulled the eye out of her sister's chicken. She didn't do it to herself, to her own. She did it to her sister's. So now I have a little hole where there used to be an eye. And I'm wondering if anybody has ever had to fix the eye on a stuffy. What is the best way to do this? I put a small piece of felt on the backing, hopefully, to secure the eye better, which didn't work, but it was very cheap felt. So I bought some thicker felt. I also have an assortment of eyes, so I could use, I think it would be tight enough, a bigger back on the eye, so that she wouldn't be able to pull it through. I could embroider an eye, and then they wouldn't have these plastic safety eyes on them, because they are sharp. I maybe should have taken a plier or a snip and snipped off the pointy ends on them before I gave them to them too. I think, if I remember correctly, you seamed here. All of this is one piece when you're done, and then this bottom part is a piece, but I think you seamed from under the beak to here. I could try and pick that seaming out, which may be the easiest, or I could pick his little beak apart, because this is attached to the pink, and then you come out here and the end was the tip of the beak. I could pull his beak out. It's annoying to have to try and figure out how to put the eye back into a stuffy 3 days after Christmas, but I've waited 7 months, and now it's 7 months after Christmas. I've confiscated back the kids' stuffies, trying to figure out what to do about the eyes. When I made all of these chickens, my grandchildren all have Eddie Bauer Woolpaco, which was a Joanne Fabrics brand at that point. But I know I've heard that Michaels is picking up some of their brands. I'm not sure if they're picking up the Eddie Bauer or not. We were in the store, and they each got to pick their colors. So one of my granddaughters picked light pink and dark pink. This light pink, they could have done a better job with that. It's not that pretty of a pink. My other granddaughter is purple, light purple and dark purple. I think it was called Royal Plum and Lilac. This one was called light pink, dark pink. See, hers still has the one that pulled the eye out, still has both her eyes. My grandson, who I picked his color, and his was the first one, so I got more creative with striping the bottom. But my grandson's doesn't have that. His was the first one I did. His was called Lapis, was the blue, and olive green is the green. It's a Patents worsted is the wattles, and a yarn called Gissimo is the yellow color. This I either bought at Michael's or Joann's. This yellow I got at Line. I bought a pale pink. Actually, in my journal, it's wrong. It says that this is a Barocco vintage, but I didn't use that. It ended up being too pale of a pink, so I bought this golder color, and I'm very happy with the beak color. My chicken is Jody Long Artisan or Artisano. My ex-husband had gotten me a surprise, like a mystery Christmas box from a local yarn store in Connecticut. And this Jody Long is in there, and it's got, I don't know what you call these little nibs of like Tweety bit, which they were coming off as I was knitting with them. So it's a little, I don't know, not messy, but they do come off a little bit. And I used the accent colors and colored body colors from the kids to make mine. And my son and daughters, my daughter and two sons, theirs is made out of Malabrigo Rios. This color is called Piedras, and one of my sons and my daughters is this brown color. My other son's was called Anniversario, and the accent color, the gold, this color is called Sunset. And then I have a picture that I will try and put up. My other son with the Anniversario, which is a bluer, iridescent-y, purpley color. He had a blue stripe that was called Reflecting Pool. See, my daughter's, this Malabrigo yarn makes a nicer chicken. It's just so round and plump. When I was stuffing these, the ones made out of the lighter worsted, and this Jody Long is a pretty light worsted, you could start to see the stuffing, so I didn't stuff them as much. My two sons and my daughters with the Malabrigo are stuffed a lot fuller than these are. Also, my daughter wanted hers to be heavy, so I bought some bean bags online. I took two of them apart and made one out of it. But you could hear it. The coating of the beanbag is like a windbreakery kind of, you could hear it in there. And they're not beans that are in there. It's some kind of a silicone pellet kind of a thing, which is in a plastic bag, and you just hear the whole thing. So I did not put the bean bags in my two sons, even though their chickens look the same. They don't have this noisy thing inside of theirs. But my daughter really wanted it that way, so she got it. But anyway, if anybody knows, or, you know, how to fix this chicken, maybe I think if I really tried to pick at it, I would be able to pick the eye out of here. And my granddaughter who did it tends to be a monkey butt picker. I mean, she just will, some kids are just like that. Some adults are like that. That'll just pick at things till they pick it apart. And she's one of those people. So I have to figure out how to, whether I embroider an eye. I just was, I'm not sure if it was on Facebook or Instagram. I saw somebody making crochet like anime eyes, which maybe I could do that and applique it back on there. Anyway, these chickens have been cloistered into this closet, and the kids ask about it, you know, once a week or so. I have to figure out how I'm going to fix the chickens. So if anybody has any ideas, I would appreciate it. If anybody ever even sees this. Right now I'm talking to myself. My other what the hey moment is, has anybody ever tried to get toothpaste out of a hand knit sweater? I made 2 of these sweaters for my granddaughters. They don't wear them very often because we're in Florida where it's hot. But when they do, they look very cute. But almost every single time they have had them on, they end up taking their arms out and wearing it like a skirt. It also seems to bother their little psyches that it only has 3 buttons here. They seem to wish that it buttoned all the way down. That really, they don't seem to be able to stop asking why there's not more buttons. But anyway, I need to wash this, and I'm not sure how much I can rub it. This is Sirdar Snuggly. It's a baby yarn. I think it's 100% bamboo. And is that blue color gonna stain? I guess, I don't know. I'm gonna try, I'm actually not gonna wait to see if anybody can help me with this one. I'm just going to try soaking it. I don't know how. She got so much toothpaste. Wearing a sweater she never wears. She probably, you know, did one of those. But we'll see. I don't know. I don't know what she did. But that's it for the jiggly bits at the end. Is more of a what the hey kind of question for me. And then I thought I would end on with just like a 6 things that make me happy, hopefully make other people happy. This goes with the shower gift. I bought this cute little woodland fawn, and caps for sale. That if anybody is ever looking for a book for a little child, Caps for Sale is one of the best children's stories I've ever known. My grandparents had a reading primer book that was old when I was little, and I'm old. So this book's got to be from the 40s, maybe even the 30s, and it had Caps for Sale story in it. And I remember my sister and my brother and I reading it all the time when we were at my grandparents' house. My children love that book. My grandchildren love that book, so I'm proud to give that to my nephew for his baby. I think my daughter's getting home with the kids, so I am going to have to end this here. My other happy things is this little sheep wonky. Tyree T is the Instagram person that they had a sheep that was born as a twin of a beast of a brother. So this little sheep was born like a little wonky. She got out and was stiff and walked a little crazy and had her head to the side, and they called it Wonky, and it's so freaking cute. And so now she has merch. So I bought the little notebook and a mug with Wonky on one side and a little on the Wonky side on the other, as well as some of the tea. The one I got was called Crofter, and it's black tea. It's delicious. I only drink black tea. I don't drink, any. They do have a wonky tea, that had nettles in it, which I'm not even sure. But I don't drink herbal tea or green tea or matcha tea or any of that. I drink plain old black tea, sometimes with a little spice in it, or that orange Constant Comment by Bigelow I like. But other than that, plain old black tea for me, and the Crofter variation from Tyree Tea was very good. So that's one of my 6 happy things. Here's the logo for Tyree Tea. It's in Scotland. And the woman is a delight. She's been shearing her sheep and cracking me up. I look at it as I'm going to bed at night, and oh my God, I would sit there in bed laughing. Another Instagram person that cracks me up is, I think the woman's name is Melanie Sanders, and it's the We Do Not Care Club for what does she say? Perimenopausal, menopausal, and postmenopausal women. And she just reads these one-liners of things that women of an age don't care about, like that we wear granny panties or have our glasses on our head, which I know I have on my head. I need my glasses for far away, so I end up for something like this where I'm reading something I end up with my glasses on my head all day. But she's very, very funny. And then I've seen other people. There's a woman in Australia that does a segment of the same thing. There's another woman that talks about knitting and crocheting we don't care items, and it's just funny and lighthearted, and I've been enjoying that. Another is Babs. I've seen this woman on Instagram, and I've seen her on doing cooking segments on, you know, Drew Barrymore or the morning news shows, and it's Barbara Costello. So I bought this cookbook, and it's just everyday dinners that a family would enjoy. I've only made one. Oop, there it is. I've only made one recipe so far. I just got this a week or two ago, and I made this one that is sausage and gnocchi, and you buy shelf-stable gnocchi, and you don't cook it. You just put it all on a sheet pan with sausage and peppers and onions, and bake it. And the gnocchi gets crunchy and toasty, because I normally don't like gnocchi just because it's a little bit of a mushy meal, you know. It was delicious. I think we're having it for supper again tonight because my daughter liked it so much, and my grandchildren love sausage. They hardly eat meat. They'll eat chicken and sometimes pork loin, but they rarely eat beef. They don't eat hot dogs, but they love sausage. So Babs Costello, I bought this on Amazon, I think, or I might have gotten it from a bookstore, but I think I ordered it from Amazon. The next happy thing is I stumbled upon a series called Cranford, and it's Judi Dench and Eileen Atkinson and Imelda Stanton. It's an English show, and there's 2 seasons. It's pretty old because Michael Gambon was in it, and I believe he passed away several years ago now. It was so good. It's just about a town in the 1800s and how they interact with each other class-wise, and how they interact with each other, you know, as far as supporting each other and farming, and it's just about the society of this small town, and it was just a delight. Judi Dench, yeah, she really does no wrong, and she's so good in that. I would say she's the star because she's the biggest star in it, but and she's in every episode. But it's an ensemble kind of cast thing. It's not only about her character. My other thing that, you know, I'm grateful for in my life is YouTube. I've been watching YouTube videos since I came back to knitting. Knitting was more intimidating for me, and so I was watching YouTube videos of what yarn are people using, what patterns are people making, because I really just wanted to make something that I liked, and I'm thankful for all of the content that people put out there, that they talk about why they picked the yarn they picked, why they picked the pattern they picked, what they, you know, some give you so much detail that it's almost overwhelming, some hardly give enough detail. But it's whatever you like, and you end up watching these people who talk about their lives. Some people have health issues or mental health issues. Some people talk a lot about their families, and you start thinking of these people as friends, and even though you've never met them. So that was one of the reasons I wanted to put a toe in, is to make knitting friends. My sister knits, but she lives you know, hundreds of miles away from me, thousands of miles when I'm here in Florida, but even when in Connecticut, she still lives hundreds of miles away. I would love to have like a, you know, knitting friends. And anyway, that's all I have. And I'm going to say goodbye now and keep you in my heart of stitches. Thank you.